Hello, and welcome to this final BC Ministry of Agriculture video on writing your food safety plans for BC fish and seafood processors. Now that you've used HACCP Principles 1 to 6 to develop your food safety plan, this video will introduce you to HACCP Principle 7, Keeping Records. This is the final HACCP principle you need to use for writing the HACCP-based food safety plan to comply with the BC Fish and Seafood Licensing Regulation. This video corresponds to pages 26 and 27 in your BC Ministry of Agriculture Food Safety Workbook. Keeping records is a very important part of any food safety plan and an essential part of controlling food safety hazards at any critical control point. In this video, we'll discuss required record keeping for any critical control points in your facility, but you should also know keeping good records is important for all of your operations. You should keep records to demonstrate how well your food safety plan works. You should review your processing records to make sure all your product was made safely, and you should be able to produce these records if anyone ever questions the safety of your product. The last point is important, since record keeping is the only method you have to prove you're doing what you said you would. Fisheries inspectors will review your food safety plan and associated records when they inspect your facility. If you have any critical control points, the inspector will want to see relevant records for those CCPs. Records kept for CCPs usually include proof of the monitoring, any corrective actions, and the verifications. Specifically, these records include a date, time of the check, evidence of critical limit checks, any corrective actions taken, the CCP operator initials, and the verification initials and date. Best practices for keeping records include document control, so all documents are numbered or dated and staff have current versions of paperwork, and good record keeping methods, where staff are trained to write legibly, in ink, and the records they keep are made at the right time by the right person. Let's look at the requirements for record keeping in the cooked crab meat example. Here is the earlier example of the CCP table for cooked crab meat, and you'll see that column 7 has been added. For the first CCP cooking, the record that must be kept is the cooking and cooling time and temperature record. The record for the first two CCPs in the cooked crab meat example is the same, the cooking and cooling time and temperature record. This record contains information about the cooking and cooling steps. A sample cooking and cooling time and temperature record for cooked crab can be found in Appendix 1 on page 30 of the workbook. For the cooking CCP, you can see they've listed the date, the batch number, the start time, the end time, and the product's internal temperature. This table also includes the record keeping for CCP2, cooling, and you can see that this includes the 2-hour and 6-hour time and temperature checks. The form also includes any corrective actions, the operator's initials, the verification initials and date, and any corrective actions done during the verification. Now it's your turn. Using your critical control point table, identify the records you'll use and keep for each of your critical control points. Describe how you keep records in column 7 for each of your critical control points described in column 2. There is a template of the critical control points table on page 35 of the Food Safety Plan Workbook. Congratulations! You've learned about HACCP Principle 7, record keeping, and how to complete the critical control points table in your food safety plan. You can now complete the HACCP-based food safety plan required by the BC Fish and Seafood Licensing Regulation. Have you completed your product description table, your incoming materials table, your process flow, your hazard analysis and controls table? And if you've identified any CCPs, have you completed your critical control points table? If so, then congratulations, you've completed your food safety plan. Thank you for watching this BC Ministry of Agriculture video on keeping records for BC fish and seafood processors.